I'm Kay, 29 years old, and I work as a marketing specialist at a large firm in Chicago. I never imagined that an ordinary Tuesday could alter my life forever. One moment, I was presenting quarterly projections to the executive team. The next, everything faded away. A sharp pain pierced my head before darkness engulfed me. When I awoke, I found myself alone in a hospital bed. The sound of machines beeping around me. A doctor approached, clipboard in hand. "We called your emergency contacts, your parents. They said they would come," he said, trailing off awkwardly. "They never arrived. If you've ever felt let down by those who should love you the most, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and stay for a story about what family truly means." Growing up in our middle-class suburban home outside Boston, we appeared to be the quintessential American family in our Christmas card photos. My father, Frank, a respected architect with his own small firm, always donned tailored suits and a serious demeanor. My mother, Diane, was a beloved third-grade teacher at the local elementary school, known for her patience and creativity. My sister, Vanessa, 3 years older than me, completed our family portrait with her perfect grades and flawless looks. From the outside, we had it all. A colonial-style house with a white picket fence, family dinners every night at 6 sharp, and summer vacations to Cape Cod. But beneath that polished facade lay a painful reality I struggled with daily. I was the forgotten daughter, always overshadowed by Vanessa. "Look at your sister's science fair project," my father would say, barely acknowledging my own achievements. "First place again. Why can't you apply yourself like Vanessa?" It wasn't that I was a poor student. I maintained a solid 3.8 GPA throughout high school, participated in debate club, and volunteered at the local animal shelter. But next to Vanessa's 4.0 GPA, student body presidency, and acceptance to Princeton, my accomplishments felt invisible. "Kay just needs to try harder," my mother would tell teachers at conferences, even with me sitting right there. "We know she has potential. Her sister never had these issues." The constant comparisons became the soundtrack of my childhood. When I brought home an A- grade, the question was always why it wasn't an A+ like Vanessa's. When I won second place in a regional art competition my parents attended, but spent the entire time reminiscing about how Vanessa had won first place 3 years earlier. My 16th birthday coincided with Vanessa's college sorority formal. My parents drove 6 hours to help her prepare, leaving me with a store-bought cake and a hastily written note promising we would celebrate the following weekend. We never did. By the time my high school graduation arrived, I had given up expecting my parents to be there for me. They showed up, of course, cameras ready and smiling proudly as I walked across the stage. But the celebration dinner afterward revolved entirely around Vanessa's recent engagement to Travis, a medical student from a wealthy family. My acceptance letter to Northwestern University in Chicago was mentioned only in passing, my mother said, her frown evident. "Chicago is so far away. Vanessa stayed much closer to home." "It is a good school," my father conceded, though he added that it wasn't quite Princeton. I chose Northwestern specifically to distance myself from Boston, far from the constant reminders that I would never measure up. Chicago symbolized freedom, a chance to define myself on my own terms without the burden of comparison weighing down on me. Vanessa settled into married life just 20 minutes from our parents, quickly having 2 picture-perfect children, a boy and a girl with matching blonde curls like hers. She decorated her 5-bedroom colonial in the same style as our mother, hosted dinner parties for my father's clients, and documented every moment of her domestic bliss on social media. "Your sister has such a beautiful family," my mother would sigh during our increasingly rare phone calls. "When are you going to settle down, Kay? Your biological clock is ticking." Never mind that I had built a successful career, made wonderful friends, and created a life I was proud of. In my family's eyes, I was failing at the only metrics that mattered: marriage, children, and proximity to them. The last Thanksgiving I spent at home 2 years ago crystallized everything. My parents had converted my childhood bedroom into a playroom for Vanessa's kids without telling me. I slept on a pull-out sofa in the basement while Vanessa and her family took over the guest rooms. "We thought you wouldn't mind," my mother explained when she saw my hurt expression. "It's not like you're here often anyway." During dinner, Vanessa dominated the conversation with stories about her children's achievements and her husband's recent promotion. When I tried to share news about my own promotion to senior marketing strategist, my father checked his watch and asked if anyone wanted more turkey. I left a day early, claiming a work emergency. No one questioned it. No one called to see if I made it back to Chicago safely. 3 weeks later, Vanessa tagged me in a family photo taken the day after I left, captioned "Family Complete," as if my absence was both expected and preferred. That was when I finally accepted the truth. I would never be a priority to them. I could exhaust myself trying to earn their approval, attention, and love, but it would always be a losing battle. So I stopped trying. Our communication dwindled to obligatory holiday calls and occasional text messages. I built my life in Chicago and tried to convince myself I was better off without the constant reminder of my second-class status in the family, until the day my body betrayed me, leaving me facing my worst fears. Being completely alone when I needed someone most. 5 years into my life in Chicago, I had finally found my rhythm. As a digital marketing strategist at Horizon Media Group, one of the city's top agencies, I managed campaigns for multinational clients with budgets in the millions. My apartment in Wicker Park wasn't huge, but it was mine, decorated with local artwork and furniture I had carefully selected. I had a small circle of friends, mostly from work and my weekly pottery class, who accepted me as I was. The distance from my family allowed me to breathe and grow into myself without constantly being measured against Vanessa's yardstick. Our communication had settled into a predictable pattern. I called on birthdays and major holidays, listened to updates about Vanessa's perfect life, and offered carefully edited versions of my own. I sent gifts at Christmas and for my nieces' and nephews' birthdays, which were rarely acknowledged. I told myself this was normal, even healthy. Many adults maintain minimal contact with their families. If there was a hollow ache in my chest when I saw friends joyfully reunite with their parents at airports, or when colleagues left work early to attend sibling events, I ignored it. This was the cost of peace, of escaping the constant feeling of inadequacy. Work became my anchor, identity, and validation. Every successful campaign, every client compliment, every promotion was proof that I was worthy, capable, and valuable. I threw myself into projects, often working 12-hour days and bringing my laptop home on weekends. My boss Richard praised my dedication while simultaneously exploiting it. "Kay's our resident workaholic," he joked in meetings. "No husband or kids to rush home to, so she can always take on one more project." I laughed along, pretending it didn't sting. It was better to be known for my work ethic than my family situation. The headache started about 6 months ago. Small ones at first, easily dismissed with over-the-counter pain relievers. Then came fatigue that coffee couldn't cure, occasional dizziness when I stood too quickly, and nights spent staring at my ceiling, unable to sleep despite feeling bone-tired. "You need a vacation," my friend Olivia said one day over lunch, noticing the dark circles under my eyes. "When was the last time you took more than a long weekend?" I couldn't remember. There was always another deadline, another client, another reason to postpone taking care of myself. The North Star Athletic account was supposed to be my crowning achievement. A national sports apparel company seeking to rebrand itself for a younger demographic had specifically requested me to lead their campaign. Richard hinted that success could mean a promotion to director level, a significant salary increase, and my own team, he told me, dropping a stack of research materials on my desk. "The presentation to their executive board is in 3 weeks. I need concepts by Friday." I threw myself into the project, working 16-hour days, skipping meals, and ignoring the increasingly severe headaches that now required prescription medication to manage. My vision occasionally blurred when I stared at my computer screen for too long, but I attributed it to I strain and push through. On the morning of the presentation, I woke up with the worst headache yet, a vice grip of pain that made even the dim morning light unbearable. I doubled my medication, took a scalding hot shower in hopes of relieving the tension in my neck, and dressed in my most confidence-inspiring outfit, a charcoal gray suit with a silk blouse that had cost almost half my monthly rent. "You look terrible," Olivia whispered when I arrived at the office, makeup carefully applied to hide my pallor. She had joined the company only 3 months earlier as a junior copywriter, and had quickly become the closest thing I had to a friend at work. "Are you sure you're okay to do this?" "I'm fine," I insisted, arranging my presentation materials. "Just nervous. This account is huge. The North Star executives filed into our conference room at exactly 10 o'clock. Richard introduced me with his usual polished charm, and I took my place at the head of the table. My carefully prepared slides appeared on the screen behind me as I began to outline our strategy for revitalizing their brand. 15 minutes in, the room started to tilt. The faces watching me blurred together, their features melting like wax figures in heat. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady myself. As you can see from the demographic analysis, my voice sounded distant, as if someone else was speaking. The pain in my head sharpened like a white-hot poker behind my right eye. I remember trying to reach for my water glass. I remember someone saying my name with increasing alarm. I remember the terrible sensation of my legs giving way, of falling backward into nothingness. Then darkness. Snippets of consciousness followed, voices shouting, the ceiling moving above me, the wail of sirens, a paramedic asking questions I couldn't seem to answer. Olivia's pale face of worry hovering at the edge of my vision. BP's dropping. Start in 4. Ma'am, can you tell me your name? I tried to respond, but my mouth wouldn't cooperate. The pain was everywhere now, crushing my skull from the inside out. Then merciful darkness again. When I fully regained consciousness, I was in a hospital bed. The lights were dimmed, but I could make out the outlines of medical equipment surrounding me. An 4-line ran into my arm, and something beeped steadily nearby. My mouth felt like it was stuffed with cotton, and the pain in my head had receded to a dull throb. A nurse noticed I was awake and approached. "Welcome back," she said, checking the monitors beside me. "You gave everyone quite a scare. I'm going to let the doctor know you're awake." "What happened?" My voice was a raspy whisper. "You collapsed at work. Your colleague came with you in the ambulance. She had to go back to the office but said she would return later," she explained, adjusting something on my 4. "The doctor will explain everything. Try to rest." The doctor arrived shortly after, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a direct manner. "Miss Davis, I'm Dr. Chun. You're at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. You collapsed due to severe dehydration and exhaustion, but we're concerned there may be underlying causes. We're running some tests. When can I leave?" I asked, already thinking about the North Star presentation. "I have work." "That's not happening anytime soon," Dr. Chun said firmly. "Your body is telling you something important, and you need to listen. We've contacted your emergency contacts, your parents. They said they would come, but they haven't arrived yet." A cold sensation settled in my stomach. Of course they hadn't come. Why had I even listed them as emergency contacts? Force of habit, perhaps, or some lingering childish hope that in a true crisis, they would show up for me. "They live in Boston," I explained, as if distance were the only reason for their absence. "It's a long trip." Dr. Chen's expression suggested she understood more than I was saying. "Well, you won't be alone. Your colleague Olivia seems quite concerned, and we have excellent staff here." As she explained the tests they wanted to run, the medications they were giving me, and the symptoms they were monitoring, I felt strangely detached. Part of me had always wondered what would happen if I truly needed my family. Now I knew nothing. Nothing would happen. They simply wouldn't be there. The hospital room became my new reality. A sterile universe of beeping machines, bland food trays, and the rhythmic squeaking of nurses' shoes on linoleum floors. Time lost its meaning, measured now in medication doses and shift changes rather than meetings and deadlines. I drifted in and out of sleep that first day, the medication making everything foggy. When I woke more clearly the next morning, Olivia was sitting in the visitor's chair beside my bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I stirred. "Hey there, sleeping beauty," she said, setting her phone aside. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck," I admitted, trying to sit up. My head swam with the movement. "What happened with the North Star meeting?" Olivia rolled her eyes. "Seriously, that's what you're worried about? You literally collapsed and got rushed to the hospital." "It was an important presentation," I insisted weakly. "Richard finished it. They were concerned about you, by the way. The North Star people sent flowers." She nodded toward a modest arrangement on the windowsill I hadn't noticed. "Richard, on the other hand, asked when you'd be back because, and I quote, the North Star timeline is very tight." "Sounds like Richard," I murmured. "I brought you some things," Olivia said, placing a tote bag on my bed. pajamas, toiletries, your phone charger, and that book from your nightstand. I hope you don't mind that I used the spare key you gave me. The simple act of kindness made my throat tighten. Here was Olivia, someone I had known for only 3 months, bringing me comfort items and sitting by my bedside. Have my parents called the hospital? I asked, already knowing the answer. Olivia's hesitation told me everything. I'm not sure. The nurses would know better than me. It's okay, I said quickly. They're busy and Boston is far. It's a 2-hour flight, Olivia said, a hint of edge in her voice. But hey, I'm sure they have their reasons. We both knew what those reasons were, but neither of us said it aloud. Instead, Olivia filled me in on office gossip until a nurse came in to check my vitals. Later that afternoon, Dr. Chun returned with a neurologist, Dr. Patel. Their serious expressions sent a chill through me. Miss Davis, we have some concerns about your preliminary tests, Dr. Chun began. Your symptoms, combined with some abnormalities in your blood work and initial imaging, suggest we need to look deeper. Dr. Patel stepped forward. We'd like to perform an MRI and some additional tests. We're seeing indications of possible pressure within your cranium that could explain your severe headaches and the fainting episode. Pressure like what exactly? My mouth had gone dry. It could be several things, he answered carefully. Inflammation, fluid buildup, or possibly a mass of some kind. The MRI will give us a clearer picture. A mass? The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. They weren't saying tumor, but that's what they meant. Fear crawled up my spine, cold and insistent. I see, I managed. When will this happen? We've scheduled the MRI for tomorrow morning, Dr. Chun said. In the meantime, we're going to start you on medication to reduce any inflammation and help with the pain. Have my parents been updated about this? I asked, not sure why I was torturing myself by asking. Dr. Chen's expression softened with sympathy. We called the number in your file again this morning. Your father answered and said they were making arrangements to come but needed some time. Making arrangements for a 2-hour flight while their daughter might have a brain tumor. The wound of their indifference, always painful but usually manageable, ripped wide open. After the doctors left, I lay in the dim room, utterly alone with my fear. The thought of facing a serious diagnosis without family support made the hospital walls seem to close in around me. I considered calling them myself, but pride stopped me. If they couldn't be bothered to call the hospital for updates, why should I reach out? The evening brought a shift change, and with it a nurse named Jennifer, who would become an unexpected source of comfort in the days ahead. No visitors tonight? She asked as she checked my phone. My parents live out of state, I said, the excuse feeling hollow even to my own ears. Jennifer nodded, making no judgment. Well, you've got me until 7 a.m. fair warning. I talk a lot. My other patients usually pretend to be asleep to get some peace. Her cheerful chatter was strangely soothing. She told me about her 3 cats, her passion for true crime podcasts, and her sister's recent disastrous attempt at home hair coloring, simple, normal life stories that momentarily distracted me from the fear gnawing at my insides. Do a lot of patients go through serious procedures alone? I asked as she was leaving. Jennifer paused in the doorway. More than you'd think. Family is complicated. But you know what? Hospital staff become pretty good substitute family when needed. We've got your back. Her words lingered as I tried to sleep, competing with worries about the MRI and what it might reveal. My phone sat silent on the bedside table. No calls from Boston. No concerned text messages asking how I was feeling, just notifications from work, email, and social media I couldn't bring myself to check. The MRI the next morning was a claustrophobic nightmare of mechanical noise and stillness. I closed my eyes and tried to focus on my breathing, fighting panic as the machine clunked and whirred around me. The technicians were kind, explaining each step, but nothing could prepare me for the reality of being slid into that narrow tube, while terrified about what they might find. Afterwards, shaky and exhausted, I was wheeled back to my room to wait for results. Olivia had texted that she would visit after work. Jennifer's shift had ended, replaced by a more reserved nurse who efficiently checked my vitals without conversation. The hours dragged on endlessly. I stared at my silent phone, willing it to ring with a call from my parents. Had they even booked flights? Were they concerned at all? Or had Vanessa scheduled another family event that took priority? The bitterness of these thoughts exhausted me, yet I couldn't stop them from circling. Years of emotional neglect had conditioned me to expect disappointment. But some childish part